Okay, hello. Let me know how we're doing. You'll understand why I'm asking that question in a little bit. Hello. Sorry I'm a little late. Can you guys see and hear me? Let me know. Sounds good. How's the video? Is the video okay? If I do like this, do you see it? If you see my hands go like this. Hello to everyone. Video is great. Okay, good. Okay. Sorry, I'm just putting some goo on my finger. Yes? Okay. Okay, good. Life has been a little crazy for a couple days here. You know, just about the time you think, oh, the crazy's over with, it gets crazier, doesn't it? Isn't that kind of the way things are? It's all good. Okay. All right. First of all, welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here. You know what? I'm so glad to be here. I know, right? So anyway, I'm just going to do a blanket hello to everybody instead of doing what I normally do, which is to say hello, you know, like romper room. I see, and I see, and I see. You know, that's not happening tonight. So, first of all, I will talk to you about the crazy old life. We'll talk about that in a little bit when I start doing something. Because we're going to work with scraps tonight. But I wanted to show you, those of you that were here Friday, I did a piece of jelly plate. Well, jelly plate is a registered trademark. I did a piece of layered monoprinted fabric. And on a 12 by 12 plate. They are made by Gel Press, by Jelly Arts Company, and by some other brands. But those are the two primary big ones that I'm aware of. And the actual one that I was working on Friday was the made by Gel Press. Okay. Yes, I did, Dorothy, and I liked them. They're beautiful. Your fabric collages were beautiful. Yeah. No Mickey Mouse roll call, no romper room, no, yeah. It's just us. It's just me. Yakety yak. I did, Dorothy, and they were beautiful. Thank you for sharing those. If you don't follow Dorothy, who is Pandora's Box, and I'm not sure what she is, what she goes by, what her account is on Instagram, but if you don't follow her, you should. Dorothy does some absolutely beautiful, absolutely stunning collage work and fabric work. You bet. It was beautiful. Okay, so on Friday, and before I forget, I told you I would probably not be here this Friday. You'll understand more why I will be here Friday. As far as I know, I'll be streaming. So there you go. And I should be here next Monday also. The next Friday, I won't be. But I should be the Monday after that. So I should only miss Friday a week from this coming Friday. I'm not sure what date that is. It's around the 16th-ish. Okay, so let's look at what I did with the fabric that I printed. Now, this piece is big, and so I'm going to have to show it to you kind of in parts, 2 parts, and you're going to get to see part of my desk. This is me. This is where I sit, the edge of my desk. So this is the piece of fabric, and so I'm going to show it to you. So I created it as a background for this particular thing. And so I just wanted to show you how it turned out as a background. Now I don't know that it's going to be in exactly this orientation. It could also be this way, but I think I like it on point better. Anyway, I'm going to open up the big piece of fabric so you can see the whole thing, because I have not cut it. I have just simply been playing with it. So this is how the piece of fabric looked once it was dried and pressed. And it maintained a nice hand because of the textile medium. And so I just wanted to show it to you so you could see it all the way. But when you're going to do something that is on point, which is what this is, set on a diagonal, then you have to do an oversized piece of fabric. So that's why it's this big. Anyway, but then when it's folded down, folded in to be the size that I want it to be, then then you get more of the full effect, right? Okay. So I'm just going to put this out of my way here. Sometimes you don't get to see what something is going to be, what it's looking like. So I thought I would show it to you, so you'd see. Okay, so what we're going to do tonight, or in this stream, is we're going to work with scraps. Thank you. Thank you. I want to work with scraps of fabric, because I just need to do something that doesn't require any thought whatsoever. None. Zero. Zip zero. No thought. And then I'll talk as I go. And I hope that is okay. Are you guys still here? Because all of a sudden the chat came to a roaring halt. Okay, Rhonda said sounds good, so you guys are seeing me. That's good. Okay, so what I have here, as we're getting started, I have a piece of Ricky Tim Stable Stuff. This is a polyester stabilizer. It's this, Ricky Tim Stable Stuff Poly. It is a multi-purpose stabilizer. You can use it for all different kinds of things, but I like it as a foundation. I like that it comes with a lot of sheets. This particular package had 50 8.5 by 11 sheets, and I like that. And I'm going to cut it in half. Which means that it is going to be 5.5 by 8.5. Okay, so I'm going to have two smaller pieces. And then we are going to use scraps. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on the table so you can see what the scrap bin looks like. Now, this is a big bin of scraps. Okay, see how big it is? When I moved, let me do a different shot here. When I moved, I took this box, which was absolutely crammed full of stuff. Good. I'm glad everybody's multitasking or doing something else. That is wonderful. Hi, Ruth. Good to see you. So I took all of these, I took a lot of my scraps, and I pared them way down. So, and I sort of sorted things. It's true. And so I'm just going to pull out 3 packages of scraps, and I don't know what's in there exactly. because I don't remember how I sorted them. And then I'm going to use, I have some blacks. I have some blacks and some neutrals. And so if I want to throw in some of those, that's what I'll have at my disposal. So we'll see how this goes, because I really don't have a clue how this is going to go. But I'm going to open my bags. They're just Ziploc bags, gallon Ziploc bags. And thanks to the mods for chatting with everybody so that I don't have to watch the chat as closely tonight. It's hard to do when I'm doing a sewing project. So these are going to be my colors that I'm going to use, and I'm going to put together, cover each of these pieces. I'm going to do 2 separate ones, and then we're going to see what happens after that. Okay? All right. So we're going to go back here. And I need to grab a glue stick. I'll be right back. Okay, glue stick at the ready. This is not a fabric glue stick. This is a paper glue stick. This is Uhu or Yoo-hoo, or however you would like to say it. That's what it is. And this is a brand new glue stick, so we're going to use it. I think I still have some of the Elmer's Extreme glue sticks here, but I'm not sure where they are. Because, you know, as much as I tried to organize myself when I was putting things away in this space, sometimes you just organize yourself into oblivion, like totally screw up your organization because you can't remember where you put things. And I had the best of intentions of labeling everything before I started using it, and that plan went awry. Anyway, so glue stick, scraps, pair of scissors, and we're gonna just get started, okay? And then we'll talk as we go. So it doesn't really matter which direction, which orientation I use on this, but I know you organize yourself. Rhonda says she organizes herself right out of organizing. It's so true. Okay, so what we're going to do is just pull out, maybe I'll start with this. I have no idea what I used this fabric for. Something very important, I'm sure. I'm going to get rid of the extra raveling strings. And I'm just going to start with a small piece of this. And we're going to plop it down in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build around this. It doesn't really matter what direction I go, but so often I start with a corner and work across, or an end and work across, or a side. This time I thought we'll start in the middle. Okay, and so we're just gonna see what happens. Doesn't really matter, but we're just gonna see what happens as we go, and then we're gonna talk. We're gonna chat. Yeah, we're just gonna chat. So let's see what has gone on since I last saw you. Let's see. Saturday was supposed to be the VIP class from How to Get Creative, and I got up Saturday morning and everything, and I had worked really hard in my sewing area to make sure that I had my sewing area organized and things put away. And I love these, by the way, these dots. So I'm going to just cut those right out of the middle of this. I'm just going to cut those out, and I'm going to use a few of them here and there. Anyway, I had everything really well organized in the sewing room. Well, first of all, I told you that that I accidentally I told you that I accidentally threw away the cord to my sewing machine, my second sewing machine, which is, I know everyone should have 2 sewing machines. I have more than 2, sad to admit. And I told you I threw away the cord accidentally. And I don't think I actually threw it away, because I think I found it. But only after I ordered a replacement. Which, it's really good that I think I found the machine cord, because when I got the replacement, it didn't fit. So I have to return it. Yeah. Anyway. Anyhow, so we will go. Crazy little thing that selects the cameras isn't going to cooperate with us tonight. This is kind of par for the course right now. Anyway, so I had everything working along, going famously, I thought, and that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make, is thinking that everything is going along really well. And because that is guaranteed that, it's the old thing that when you're making plans, here, let's do this a little differently. I don't want to cover up all the numbers. Anyway, making plans is not a good thing to do sometimes. And I thought I had everything all organized and all ready to go. And got up Saturday morning. And I'm like, what is going on here? It's like, what is happening? Because I have all the emails have gone out. Everything is ready, I think. Except it doesn't look like I'm online. I came in to check something. Fortunately, I started early. I came into to this area where I do the broadcasting and do all the classes and stuff. And I thought, well, I'll just, whatever it was I needed to do. I don't know, check email or something. I don't know what it was. It showed I was online. And you know what? I don't think I was. And I couldn't figure out why. And not only that, I couldn't figure out if I really was or if I really wasn't online. Turns out I wasn't. And fortunately I started early. And we called the internet company. Elton happened to still be here, and so we called the internet company, and they had us go through the paces of check this, check that, look at this, look at that. And then the last thing that they said was go see if there's anything where the internet comes into the house, see if there's something going on out there. Now, okay, understand I moved here in October, and so I'm still getting used to the system, right? And we moved the broadcast and the recording part, and where I streamed, the whole streaming setup got moved here in February. So it's still a little bit new to me, and it's a completely different company. Everything is different. Right? Yeah, exactly. And I'm calling them Saturday morning, and I'm going to stream a class live that day. So anyway, they say, okay, go outside or go find the box. So fortunately, Elton was here, and he knew where that was outside. I did not. I know now, but I didn't then. I've learned a lot since then. And so he goes out because we've investigated the inside. We can't find a reason for what's happening inside, so we now have moved to the outside. And I'm just, as I'm doing this and talking to you, I am just randomly, this is totally random, you guys, 100% random, picking scraps out of my little bags of goodness and hoping they're not too terribly wrinkly. And then I'm just putting glue on them like this, hopefully on the wrong side. And then I'm going to just glue them down to this this thing I'm building, this piece of scrap collage, fabric scrap collage. Okay, that's all I'm doing as I'm talking. Okay, so we are talking to the internet company, and Elton is outside because he knows where the box is. Barb doesn't. Barb knows now. Didn't then. And there's no construction in the area. You know, we hadn't had any work done on the house. There's nothing that would have caused this glitchy thing to happen that we know of. And so the next thing is, you ready? Take the cover off of the box. And, you know, see if all the stuff is connected, which I wouldn't know what I was looking at if I looked, which I didn't. I'm just talking to the guy on the phone. So, Elton takes the outside cover off, and he says, all of a sudden I hear him say, "Oh!" Like, now, I think that he's been shocked. That's what I think. I didn't know what was going on. And, sorry, I'm just digging through my bags of treasures here. Okay. And so I don't know what's happened. And then he says, "Oh, there were a ton of wasps that came out of there." And the guy on the phone says, "Yep, that doesn't surprise me." He said, "Wasps like to eat," because we have fiber, you know, the high speed fiber internet that is a fiber thing. And he said, "Yep," he said, "that doesn't surprise me." He said, "Wasps like to eat fiber." And he said that means that we're going to have to send a technician out. Okay, perfect. That's just swell. And I said, "Well, when would that be available?" Because, you know, I kind of know better than to hope that they could get out there and do it on Saturday when I have a class, right? They're not going to be able to do that, but I was kind of hoping, you know, maybe they would. Maybe. Nope. And so he says, "Well, we can have somebody out there Monday between 1 and 3. I'm like, okay, well, you know, if that's what they can do, that's what they can do, right? Well, that's all well and good, except now I got to communicate with the people that are going to take the class. That the wasp killed my internet until somebody comes to fix it. Except I don't have a way to do that because it killed all of my ability to communicate. My phone wasn't, my phone was on data, and so I couldn't even communicate with the phone. I couldn't even call anybody on the phone. I don't know what that was about. So I have to go out in the car, and I have to sit in the car. I have to sit in the car to call Race. And fortunately, he answered. And I said, guess what? The wasps got into the internet outside and apparently have had their way with the fiber, fiber, I don't know the technology, the technical term. And he kind of laughed, and I said, so here's the thing, I don't know how to communicate with anybody because of this, so do you think you could send an email? And he said, okay, I can do that. Now, I don't know what email he sent because because I didn't have the internet, and so I didn't see the message. But I think it might have been something about the wasps ate the internet. You think I could have streamed? Hey, Pink Poodle Crafts. Okay, Pink Poodle Crafts. I know your name. Stacy. Is that right? Good to see you. Welcome. You're here just in time to listen to me grouse about wasps eating my internet. So anyway, he fortunately sent the email out, and everybody got it, I think, in time except for one person. And that made me sad that she was there trying to get into the class and there was no class. And there's just some things that you just can't do anything about. But there must have been, now, Elton is an attorney, so he is supposed to tell the truth, right? And his version of this was there were about 1,000 wasps in there. Now, here is the good news. The absolutely good news about this is that they did not go after him. I guess they were so shocked that they just, were like, oh, somebody took our house, I guess. I don't know. But we were so fortunate, so very fortunate that he did not get stung. So they were trying to sabotage, and they did. They did sabotage me until today. Okay? All right. So we're going to keep building on this little scrap thing because this is the best thing that we can do here right now. And I'm just picking from my bags of scraps. I got rid of a lot of scraps when I moved, along with a lot of other things that I just, sometimes it's good to just clean stuff out and kind of start afresh, and that's kind of what I did in this move. And so anyway, so we're taking scraps and we're making fabric from the scraps. Okay, so the wasps did not sting him, and they also took out the TV, because our TV is not an online streaming service, although it will be, but was not. But it took that out, and it took out all of the if we didn't have data, we would have had nothing. So I'm really grateful for the ability to have data on the phone. That way I could somewhat stay in touch. But if I wanted to talk to anybody, I had to go sit in the car and turn the car on. Which makes no sense to me, whatsoever. But, anyway, what do I understand? Not much. Okay, let's go back and see if we can just fill in with some of these little bits and pieces here. Maybe. Stacy, what are you up to? I don't get to see what you're doing now. Are you staying busy with streaming and so forth? Stacy's one of those people, Pink Poodle Craft Stacy. She is one of those people that I'm telling you, that girl can get online and she can stream longer than anyone I have ever met in my entire life. She has been known to stream. She has been known to stream for many hours. All right, I don't know what this came from, but it's dots. So let's put some dots in, shall we? What is Stacy not up to? That probably is a better question. So we had, you find out when you go through, tech kinds of things, you find out how dependent you are in your silly sort of way, how dependent you are on technology for all kinds of things, including business and entertainment. And if I hadn't canceled the internet or disabled the internet over at my other house, I'm going to take that off and reposition. If I hadn't disabled the internet at the other house, I could have gone over there and streamed, but I did. So there you go. Stacy just bought an old church and did some remodeling. She lives on one side and turned the sanctuary into a classroom, and now she teaches in-person classes in there. How cool is that? That's great. Good for you. I hope you're having a very wildly successful adventure doing that. That's wonderful. Congratulations. Alright, so we're just going to keep sticking things on here, and now that I've kind of established a palette of color, I'm going to just sort of work with the colors, the scraps that I pulled, and then, I don't know, I may pull some more. Okay, so fast forward, as it were, to today. So we've gotten through the weekend. My class got canceled. I was at absolute loose ends on Saturday because when you've planned something and it all of a sudden goes upside down, that is the weirdest feeling, isn't it? Isn't it a weird feeling when that happens and you're like, and now what am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do now because what I was going to do went away. And so now what do I do? It was one of those. All right, let's put this like so. So Saturday, once I finally kind of got myself, not that I didn't have plenty of things to do. I had plenty of things I needed to do, but I just was kind of discombobulated, shall we say. And so it took me a while to kind of get myself squared around and figure out what to do. So you're streaming tonight? Stacy streams so many hours. Oh, goodness. Bless your heart. I hope you have a great class and great stream. Absolutely. Stacy does some wonderful stuff. I just haven't been able to get there and watch. It seems like I'm always covered up with something else. Anyway, there you go. All right, let's get this in here so that it makes sense. So we get to today, and today I had to go see my tax person. I am fortunate, very fortunate, for the first time basically in my life, because it was a bargaining chip between Elton and me to have people who come clean my house every other week. They clean my house, our house, and they clean. The house is big enough that they clean parts of it, and then I do the rest. But you know what? I will take the parts that they clean anytime. It's great. But you know, we've had this discussion before about cleaning for the cleaners. We've had this discussion. Yes. You have to clean up for the cleaners, because if you don't, like, you got to straighten things up, because if you don't, all you do is just frustrate them. You know what I mean? You frustrate them and you just make life harder for them, and we don't need to do that. Oh, thank you, Stacy. Yes. Got married in October. I did. Never thought that would happen to me again. A huge privilege. It's a huge privilege. I never thought that would happen to me. After being married almost 50 years and losing Claus Man, I never thought that would happen. But you know what? It did. And I am so grateful. So grateful. I am very, very blessed. And super grateful. Yeah. So, what was I saying? Oh, the cleaners. You gotta at least pick up and put things away. Now, what you don't know is that I had a whole ton of stuff that I had moved into the room that was going to be the sewing room, just stuff to get it out of the way. So that all had to come out before I could organize the sewing room. So all of that came out that didn't really belong in the sewing room had to be dealt with. Yeah. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, you know? But it's just like, you got to clean up. You got to clean up to get ready for the cleaners, which is just so insane. But if I didn't, they were going to not be able to get to things, you know? That would have been bad. And I had to go see the tax person this morning. And then I had to be back here in time for the internet people to come, because I didn't want to miss that, you know. No, I didn't expect miracles. Dorothy's still trying to get her place sorted so a cleaner could actually be able to see where to clean. There you go, Dorothy. Go, girl. Go, girl. You can do it. You can do it. Yes, you can. All right. I'm just going to put another piece of this. Where do I want this? It doesn't really matter. I'm going to stick it right there. So that had to be done. Then I had to be at the appointment at 10, and fortunately that wasn't very far from here. And then my whole thing was, you know, I don't know about you guys, but if I'm going to do something that I'm not very fond of, I will make a bargain with myself. Like, I'll treat myself. It's like, I will do this. If I'm really dedicated and get this thing done that I don't really like to do, then I'm going to treat myself to blah, blah, blah. So I had decided that I had time between the And I don't like dealing with accounting things. I just don't. I'm not good at it. I don't like it, but it has to be done. So I had to go do that. And so I thought, well, okay, I think that what I'm going to treat myself to is I'm going to go try out a coffee shop that's not too far from here. It's on the other side of the world from where I lived. But I thought, raveling, sticking to my fingers. It's like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to treat myself to coffee. And there's a grocery store right by there. I'm going to pick up a couple groceries and I'm going to just sit and relax. Remember that thing about life happening when, what is it? What's the saying? Life happens when you're making plans or something like that. Yeah, that's what happened. Okay, so I decided rather than start with coffee, I'd start with the grocery store. I'd go get what I wanted at the grocery store and get that job done. I didn't have much to get, and so I thought, well, I'll just go do that real quick. And as I'm walking in the grocery store and I've picked up precisely 2 things, I get a phone call from the internet tech guy, and he's about 20 minutes away and I'm about, 15 minutes away, and the cleaners, as far as I know, had not gotten to the house yet. And so I don't know what kind of chaos this is going to be. I really don't. I'm like, okay, let's go for it and see what happens. And so I told the internet guys that I will be there probably about the same time you are. So I pull in the driveway from expecting to see him, and the cleaners are still there. And I'm like, okay, but you know what? They were getting finished because they come in with a crew, 3 or 4. I think there were 4 of them today. So they can knock out what needs to be done pretty fast. And so that's great. I know, I am just rambling on, you guys, so bear with me. And so they get done. They get done. The internet tech is there. So I need to work, kind of show him what's what and talk to him. I need to deal with getting the cleaner people off, out to. So that has to be dealt with. And then Elton called and wants to know how things are going. And I'm like, can't talk. Can't talk. Got my hands full. Can't talk. Oh, okay. So we're going to stick that right there. All right, we have one more little piece up here. Let's see, will you fit? Not quite. We'll put you on part of it. And so the internet tech and I are going around looking at stuff, and then he goes outside. He said, "I hear you have wasps in a wasp nest." And I said, "Apparently so." And so he's armed. Okay, all right. Picture this. He's armed with a can of wasp killer. No tools yet. Can of wasp killer. You make plans and life happens. Mm-hmm. Is that what it is? Yeah. So he's got that. Now I'm kind of standing back, and I go out and I point at where the box is. And Elton has made a great path for this guy to get to the box. He has weed whipped and mowed and stuff, within an inch of its life, so that it's as convenient as possible for the guy to get to it. And so I'm saying, okay, this is where the thing is. I'm going to go inside and I'm going to unlock the door because the rest of the box and stuff is in the house. And, you know, I'm trying to explain, not knowing a whole lot about what I'm saying, but I'm trying. I'm trying to be intelligent. Have you ever noticed how hard that is sometimes to try to be intelligent when you don't really know what you're talking about? And so about the time that I leave before he unloads on the wasps, and so I come inside and unlock the door, and then I peek outside and I say, "How's it going?" He goes, "There are a lot of wasps in here." And he said that and what he was concerned about was that they were coming back. So he had been dueling with the wasps. And any of you guys that love bugs and wasps and things like that, I know there are people that do, and they don't want you to kill them and all that kind of stuff. I'm sorry. I'm real sorry. But they can't live. They can't live and destroy things here. Right? Okay. So, I'm going to show you what I have here, and then I'm going to even up the edges. Okay, so I'm going to even up the edges because we all know that I can't. There are not too many things that I just can't live with, but raggy edges I can't live with. Okay, there's what we have at this point. One of the reasons I can't live with ragged edges is because I can't tell what things are going to do. So there you go. I wanted to put the other gold piece on here. I wonder what happened to it. I'm probably wearing it or something. Here it is. Let's put this on here. I'm just going to put a little piece of this just because I like this gold sparkle stuff. Let's see, where do I want to put that? I think I'm going to stick it up here. Just so I have it. That's in the wrong. That's okay. It doesn't matter if it's going the same direction. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Barb. I could put another piece here going the other way. Just so I break it up a little bit. Yeah, we'll do that. So anyway, the tech guy is out there dueling the wasps, and what he was concerned about is that even though he was spraying and killing the wasps, they were coming back to the box. And so his concern was that the nest, he couldn't visually see a nest, but he was concerned that the nest was down in a piece of conduit, you know. That was his concern, which I can totally get. And he said they're coming back, and they're coming. There's a bunch of hostas and bushes and stuff right out there. Okay, there's our little piece, and that looks pretty good. I'm not too unhappy with that. I'm not too unhappy. Oh, Jill, I'm so sorry about that. We were just super fortunate, you know, because Elton had no idea that he had disturbed or was disturbing that when he took the cover off that. So yeah, I am grateful that he didn't get stung worse, or didn't get stung. Okay, so I'm going to start with a totally different piece of fabric, and I'm just gonna kind of cut out a weird shape so that I have something different to work with to start from, rather than a square, because sometimes when you start with a square you end up with just a real log cabin looking thing, and sometimes not, but you know, it's just sometimes good to just start with something else different. Okay, so dueling, the guy is out there and he is fighting the wasps and trying to kill trying to kill him and doing all that stuff, and I'm inside and the house cleaners go, and the dog needs to go out because she's a pain in the butt right now. I love her, but oh, bless her heart. Yeah, she is a sweetheart, but wow, she's a challenge. She's like having a puppy, and she's not a puppy. She's 17 and like 17 and a half now. Yeah, so it's a whole thing, you guys. It's a whole thing. Okay, let's put some of these on, and let's see if we got something else here. All right, here's a couple more pieces that are different. So it was just kind of a circus, and I'm hungry and I'm tired and I need a nap because I've been up since early and I'm a little cranky. But I have to be nice, you know. You got to be nice to the people that are solving your problem. And this guy was so nice. He was so nice. He really was. And he was so patient. And he was so good. He was very patient with people who don't know the technical terms for things. And yeah. And so he's finally got rid of the wasps, and well, no, there's a modem out in this box. Okay, now, all right, before we get to, all right, where's my mouse? Here it is. Lest you think that I know a lot about what goes on with the internet, let me assure you that I do not. Okay, I don't know what the modem does. I don't know what its function is. I know it's important. That much I have. I'm smart enough to know that. But I don't know the function of it. But it's important. And it was outside, and it was in this magic box that's on the house. Okay, it's hooked to the house. And so because the tech guy can't figure out where the wasps are coming or going, because he's watching them, and he's got the can of spray and he's killing wasps, and then there's more, and then there's more, and then there's more. And so he decides to take the lid, the lid, I don't know, he's gonna investigate this modem, because he's already been inside, he's looked around, and can't determine where the problem is. Well, we found out because as soon as he touched the modem, all these wasps come streaming out of the modem, to which he gives that thing a mighty heave and says, "We don't need that anymore." So that, and then he continues fighting the wasps. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, you just can't make it up. You really can't. So the modem got moved inside to to the interior of the house. All right, let me come back here so you guys can watch what I'm doing instead of watching me. The modem got moved inside, which I think is a brilliant plan, instead of having it outside, where, because wasps are really crafty critters. And so it got moved inside. And then I don't know what happened after that. Elton came home, and you know, we were talking to this guy, and there was, you know, some tool that he didn't have on the truck, and so his boss was bringing him the tool or the whatever's so that he could fix it, you know, put new ends on some wire or something. And you know what? That didn't fix the problem, and what should have taken not very long ended up taking like 4 hours. Not because he didn't know what he was doing, but it took that long because he kept having to chase down, well, he was fighting wasps for one thing, but he had to keep chasing down, you know, you have to eliminate problems. And I couldn't pay you to battle the wasps, Ruth? Oh, come on. Come on. Hey, Jan. Lady True North. So, to make a very long story a great deal shorter, this ordeal went on for quite some time, because what got us was that everything would show, like the computers would show that they were online. The phone would show that it was online. You know, like the little, you know, the little symbol that goes like this. Do you like my illustration? That would be lit up. And so that you would think that we were online. Except when you would go to check it online somewhere, you know, like go to YouTube or go to any online website, you just get the spinny ball. And so clearly things were not online. We had no connection. The network was working inside the house, but we had no internet to the network. So therein lay the problem. Yeah, therein was the problem. And the question is, how do we get that resolved? And so that was going on. Yeah, that was going on for quite a while. And then it got to the point, okay, the same internet company is the same outfit that we have television, the cable. Okay? So at first they said, you know, they told us that the wasps had probably eaten the fiber, which they didn't. It was just that there was a nest that I don't know. I'd tell you all the things, but I'd probably just be lying to you because I don't really know exactly what happened. Anyway, the TV hadn't worked for a few days. One TV hadn't worked. And then once the wasps started taking over, then none of the TVs worked quite right. They kind of worked, but they didn't work with they worked with the cable box, but not with, they wouldn't hook up to the internet. Yada, 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 yada. Boring, 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 Barb. I know. I'm just yammering on while I do this because I just need to do something that's, yeah, I just need to make something out of something. You know what I mean? So when it got right down to it, the company, the cable internet provider is all one. And they've been telling us for a while that they were going to discontinue television service. And a lot of providers are doing that, because they're making you go to, because a lot of, maybe most, I don't know, a lot of people are going to streaming services for television. And so a lot of the provider companies are saying, okay, we'll get ahead of this and we'll just say we're not going to provide TV anymore, so make alternate plans. So apparently somewhere in this mess, we had to make a choice. We weren't supposed to have to make a choice yet, because people like us in our age group, we like to put it off till the very last second. We don't want to get ahead of the game. As Clausman used to say, you got to get ahead of the game, and you got to be on the safe side. We never knew what side that was, but Clausman always wanted to be on the safe side, and he wanted to get ahead of the game. We didn't know the game or the side. Yeah, we didn't know any of that, but it always made sense to him, and we just kind of went along with him, because that's what you do when you're not sure what you're talking about with somebody who's dealing with dementia issues. You just kind of go with the flow, right? Anyway, like I said, people like us, we don't want to deal with this stuff too early. Although I had sitting in the kitchen on the counter, we had the things that are supposed to adapt the TVs so that we can do the streaming service, courtesy of Elton's son getting those. And so we just hadn't investigated that, because we don't need to get ahead of the game. We don't. We have time. This doesn't have to happen until October. It is August. So we don't have to do it yet until today, when we did have to do it, because as of today, we had to choose, do we want TV or do we want internet? Which do we want? Because you can't have both. I don't know why we can't have both, but we can't have both. Today, as of today, we can't have both. It's just insanity. It's insanity. Anyway. Yeah, so we finally, after 4 hours, I think it was, of dealing with all this stuff today, and I'm communicating with Race, and I'm saying, because I've tested to see if the streaming, if the internet speed is back to where it's supposed to be, because I don't know what it was when we started out here. And he's saying that's not fast enough, and I'm like, okay, what is it supposed to be? And he's saying, I'm not sure, because I don't know what it was. It's just like it's a dog chasing its tail sometimes around here. And I'm the dog. I'm chasing my tail. Oh, good night, nurse, you guys. It's been a circus. It's been a circus. It certainly has. Anyway, finally, Ray says, well, just try it and see how it works. And I'm like, okay. So that's why when we got on tonight, and I say to you, can you see me do this? Because I don't know if you can see me, and I don't know if you can hear me. It's just like, well, we're just going to go for it and see what happens. So there you go. Yeah, it's been crazy. So apparently, according to you guys, those of you who are hanging around, apparently you have let me know that you can see me and you can hear me. And the craziness of the craziness of Barb's life. We're going to call it Barb's Life in the Country. We should just rename this show and call it Barb's Life in the Country. You think? I don't know. Oh, goodness. Yeah. Barb's country life. There's probably already a YouTube show with that name. Barb's Country Life. Oh, Rhonda, thank you for chatting. If you weren't chatting. Hi, Starla. Yeah, Starla says, can you imagine the story the poor internet guy is telling his family? No. I think when he goes home, I think he probably walks in and says, don't talk to me about anything I did today because I don't want to discuss it. And I can't really blame him. Yeah, I can't really blame him too much. Okay, I'm just looking to see what other things I got in this little bag of tricks. Is this what I used already? Yeah, I think this one's different. Okay. So anyway, yeah, might be the same one. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, Barb. Just use it. So anyway, that's what's been going on around here. So we don't have TV. And the only part that's great about that is that I don't have to listen to the news because that's not my favorite thing in the world. And that's probably one of our biggest differences is that Elton has always listened to the news from the time he was a kid. And you know what? I think that is great. That just doesn't happen to be a passion of mine to listen to the news. And so I don't mind having a break from it. I don't mind. But once we get things sorted out, everything will be back. He can listen to the radio between now and then. There's plenty of news on the radio, right? Right. Okay. I miss things like the Hallmark Channel. Mindless things. The take me away Calgon moments. That's what I miss. Yeah, that's what I miss. I miss the Food Network. Not because I cook all the time, but just because I learn stuff there. I appreciate the Food Network. That's actually how I learned a lot about cooking. Okay, cooking without recipes and stuff like that. Anyway, I am just babbling. I know you can't tell that. I know you can't tell. That's what I'm doing here tonight. Anyway, anybody got any questions for me? The VIP class, which was supposed to be on Saturday, will be rescheduled for this coming Saturday. So everything will be different. I will have to send out a different information on that. So those of you that are VIP members will just need to hang tight until I get that done. But I had to wait till I got internet back before I could even, think about it. Okay, so stay tuned for news on that one. These pieces, that I'm going to do, I'm going to make something out of them. I saw online the other day on Instagram, I think it was maybe, where somebody had done something, with scraps, which I've made these. Okay. Okay, guys, I gotta go. I gotta go take the dog out real quick. She just came to visit. Hang on. Everybody hang on a minute. Okay. Come on. Come on. Okay, I'm back. Sorry that interrupted things. She is like a puppy, and so you know how puppies are when they're potty training. You have to take them out when they tell you. Well, she's like that, except in reverse. So when she starts moving around, you go, okay, got to get her out, because you have about this long before she just can't control herself. She's old. She's really old. Sweet, but old. So anyway, I was saying that I think it was on Instagram, I saw this thing where somebody had taken a fabric collage like this and had made fish. I don't know what the purpose of their fish was, but they had made fish with them. And I thought, I don't have any desire to make fish, but I thought it would be kind of fun to take some of the cats and dogs, the silly cats and dogs that I've drawn in the past, and do something with those. So probably that's kind of what I was thinking about. I have used the fabric collages for lots of things. Like I have done postcards, journal covers. I have copied them, made color copies with them. And I've done, various things with color copies, so that I've taken the fabric and turned it into paper, a paper version. I've made note cards. What else have we done? I don't know. I've done all different kinds of things with the fabric collages. Mostly it's a way to use up some of the scraps. Some, because no matter how many scraps you have, and no matter how good your intention is to make a dent in the scraps and use them up, you never will. So you might as well just forget about that. You might as well forget. It's like trying to use your paper scraps, And then I was watching somebody the other day, I'm not even sure who it was. But, I often just have YouTube on in the background when I'm doing other stuff. But I was watching and somebody was doing some stuff with scraps. And she had a scrap that was about this big. I mean, teeny tiny little scrap. And she said, and I quote, "And I'll put this in the scrap bag because I'll use this in something else." And I'm like, oh, I am so sorry I saw that, because I'm afraid I'm going to catch that. I'm afraid I'm going to catch that keep it disease. You know, I don't need any more of the keep it disease. I just don't. And I'm afraid I'm going to catch that. Yeah, I'm afraid I'm going to catch that. All right, got to put a piece of fabric right here because I accidentally slopped some glue on that. So, yeah, I hope I don't catch that one because I do not need. The only thing that scraps do is multiply. They multiply in the night. I am absolutely positive about that. Scrappy rice bags. Yeah, doomed to have it. Probably so. You know, I've never made a rice bag. I've looked at them and I thought they would be kind of fun to do, but so far I haven't managed to make myself do that. Not that I won't, but yeah. Mostly what I like to do, it's kind of like people who like to collage fabric. Mostly what I like to do is I like to stick things onto things, and yeah, I like to stick things on other things and to make a big thing out of the small things. Does that make sense? Nope. Did you read that? Did you read that message from Elton? Because I took Muppet out and I said, because I could hear myself talking, and then I realized he's on the front porch, and because of the delay, he's listening to me, and I thought, oh, I will just hand Muppet off to him. So I did. I said, can you take her out? Yep. So he took her out, and so now he's on the front porch with all the animals. That's not what I want. Okay, I'm going to need another, I need another little piece of something here. All right, we're just going to use this. All right, we've about got all of this covered up. Now, if you're doing this, it's infinitely easier if you will have your scraps ironed, or have an ironing surface with you with your scraps, so that they don't look like this. They're much easier to glue down if you will take the time to iron them. And then you don't have to use as much glue as I've had to use on this one. But, you know, there you go. He is a keeper. He is a keeper. I am, like I told you, I am very, very blessed. I had no clue that that there was any possibility that there would be a future with anybody. And yet I kept thinking, I think I'm too young to just sit around and do nothing. I got to find something to do with my life. And I am a good partner person. I'm not a good single person. Anyway, okay, so I have cut that off. And there's a little more glue. I need to put a little more. A little something something right here, because I slopped some glue. Let's put that right there. So I am very, very, truly blessed. Truly, truly. Okay. What else? This is sort of sticking out like a sore thumb, so let's put a little something something right there. not green. I'm just looking at what my options are here. And so then what I'm going to do, yeah, that'll just kind of break that up a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to stitch on these. And I have black thread in the sewing machine, and so guess what, folks? That's the color we're going to use. Normally, I kind of agonize over, well, I could use this color and I could use that color, and I will fiddly fart around with figuring out what color thread to use. And you know what? That is not happening here tonight. We're going to use what's in the machine, which is black. And it is not even, it's construction thread. It's not even a decorative thread. And so what? Right? So what? Alright, so I'm going to just take all these off my table, and because I have built this on a piece of stabilizer, I don't have to stabilize it because I built it on stabilizer. And I also did not bring into this space my free motion embroidery foot, and so what's on my machine is what we're going to use, and it is a machine applique foot. So guess what? We are going to be stitching in straight lines. Okay? Okay. Here we go. So I just need to, nope. There we go. Set up my machine here. And then we'll stitch and we'll see what happens. We'll just see what happens here. Alright. We will get rid of that blinky blink light because that is obnoxious. That's true. Put them in a container. Make the best thing to do with little tiny bits of things is to make fabric confetti. I think I've shown you that. Haven't I shown you that? Okay. Let me see if I can show you that. This is a couple of different examples of fabric confetti. This one. This is more organized because this was in squares and rectangles and things like that. Or you can call it fabric lace, because it is held together with thread. And then this is probably more of a fabric confetti here. Fabric and trims and whatever. And this one. This is on my apron. So anyway, there's that. Those are teeny little scraps. Teeny ones. Alright, so let's see. What do we want to do here? Alright. You'll have to ignore all the glue on my hands. And we're going to start. Alright, I'm going to start right here. This will take me a minute to get this going because it's been a while since I've done this. But we will see if we can make it work, okay? So let's see. I need my foot control. And this would be better in a different color of thread, where I could actually see what I was doing, but we're gonna make it work. Eventually I'll get out of the black and white, so the black thread will show up. Alright. So what I'm doing is stitching in a spiral, in case you couldn't tell. And I am using the edge of the presser foot. This is the presser foot. The edge of it is going to run around the edge of the previous stitching. Now, after you get going when you're doing this, then you don't have to stop as much as I'm stopping. Let's see if I can get this where you can see a little bit more. Hopefully you can see it. But I'm just using the edge of the presser foot here against the line of stitching. So hopefully by doing this we should catch most of the edges of these little pieces of fabric. But I am stopping and raising the presser foot just enough that I can pivot so I can keep the curve relatively curvy. And then once you get going far enough where the curve flattens out somewhat, then you don't have to keep raising the presser foot all the time. So you still have to adjust, but you don't have to adjust quite as often. But because I'm going to be cutting this into something smaller, I do need to have a fair amount of stitching to hold it all together. Hopefully that makes sense. Does that make sense to you? I hope. Oh, Starlight, go get some rest. I hope you get some relief, sweetheart. I know you're going through a lot right now. Now, when you get to the edge, because this is not square, obviously, it is a rectangle. When you get to the edge of the one of the edges, then you're going to have to do some back and forth, or you're going to have to make some adjustments about what you're going to do about the stitching, which is going to happen here pretty quickly. How you're going to continue the stitching. But I like the contrast between the straight edges of many of the patches with the curvy lines of the stitching pattern. Okay, so you see the spiral happening? I think you can see it. But because I cut my stabilizer in half to start with, then it's not going to be quite as cumbersome to maneuver under the machine needle. And I'm going to try to keep my hands out of the way so you can see. Okay, so we're going to get around to the other side of this, and that's where we have to start deciding what to do next to complete this. Right about here, okay? So what I'm going to do, because these edges are going to get cut off anyway, I am going to just stitch straight, hopefully on the fabric, until I get to where I can turn the presser foot, and then I'm going to keep doing the spiral. But those edges are going to go away, so it doesn't make any difference that the pattern doesn't complete around and around and around. It will kind of give you that simulated effect. And here we go. When it's cut out. Cut into whatever shape I'm going to cut it into, which I think I'm going to do a cat or a dog. And you know what? We'll do that. We're going to finish stitching both of these tonight. I'll try to do 2 different stitching patterns. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do on the other one. Okay, so we have the same thing, so we're coming to the edge. I'm just going to stitch right down the edge. And I keep sliding off. And stitch on around. The alternative to this, to going around like I'm doing and stitching down the sides, is to just turn around and stitch back and forth off the end, but I just decided to do it this way. And if I had my free motion foot in here, I would not, I wouldn't have to do it this way. I could do it free motion stitching. But on the other hand, if you're not comfortable with free motion stitching, and some people are not, and sometimes I'm not, it's like patting your head and rubbing your stomach. It's like jelly plate printing too. You pretty much have to get warmed up and get into it every single time you do it. This way you see that you don't have to have a free motion foot to be able to still do this kind of fabric collage and stitching stuff. You have to have stitching to hold the scraps together, because remember, they're only held down with glue stick, and that's not enough. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just stitch back, because only one more little round here is going to be necessary to finish that. So I'm just going to finish that up while I'm here. You can't pay any attention to the ends of this, because all that stuff's gonna go away anyhow. Okay, so we're gonna call that good for that part. Okay, see what I did? I could actually stitch one more row up here, but I don't think that's going to even be in the design, so it doesn't matter. We're going to ignore that. We're going to pretend you didn't see it. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to finish this part. Okay. Now theoretically, if everything's perfect, if you have the needle in the center needle position of your foot, this should be the same distance from the needle from this side of the foot as this side. Now they may be a fraction different, but it's good enough. It's good enough for what I'm doing. And you know, here's the thing, people. There's no rules to this. You make it up as you go along. It's one of the ways that you discover some of the best things, because it doesn't matter. You know, you're working with scraps. Nobody cares. The quilt police, the fabric police, the sewing police, they're not going to come and get you and take you away. So don't allow yourself to get into the mindset of not doing it right. Ruth wants to know if the glue stick gums up the needle. Hang on just a second and I need to get this done. Alright, so I'm going to run my fingers down the needle and there is no gum on that needle. So the answer to that is it did not. And you know what? Here's the other thing. Sewing machine needles are not that expensive. You should have lots of sewing machine needles in your possession at all times. And if the needle gets gummed up, change it out. Another thing you can do is I have a pin cushion, a tomato pin cushion, and it is the pin cushion. I have the different sizes of needles written on the different sections, 60, 70, 80, 90, etc. And so when I have a machine needle that I've used a little bit but not a whole lot, I'll take it out and stick it in the pin cushion. And then I use those used needles for stuff like this or for paper, stitching on paper and that kind of thing. And in that case, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me if the needle is gummy, you know, because I've always got other used needles available, so I'll, you know, or I'll use a new needle. If I really care about the result and the quality of the stitching, then I'll use a new needle, and if I don't, I'll use one of the old needles. But when you hear it going clunk, 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 I mean, you can actually hear it and feel it. When it makes a different sound when the needle is dull. When you really hear that where it's chugging, the needle is like punching a hole in the fabric, then it's too dull and you need to throw it away. Okay? Yeah, rubbing alcohol will take the gum off. It will. Most of the time I just don't do that. I just change the needle or keep going. Not worry about it. Okay, and so let's take a look at I'm looking at this. I need to put a little bit of glue on this where I started, because where I started the stitching I did not back stitch, and so I'm just going to put some tacky glue on the back. I'll show you. And I'm doing that so it will stop the threads from coming apart. So let me show you what I just did. So right here where I started the spiral, I didn't backstitch, and so I just put some tacky glue on there because this is not a project that's ever going to get washed. Okay, it's going to be some other little project of some kind. So I put some tacky glue there, and that's going to secure that thread on the top. Okay. Yep. Change the needle. Make sure that the needle is threaded in the up, with the foot in the up position. Okay, like this. Not down. Up. Thread the needle when the foot is up. Make sure your needle is all the way up in the machine. That's one of the things we used to have problems with. People would put the needle in, but it wouldn't be all the way up in the shaft. So make sure it's all the way up and it's installed properly. It is hard with the newer machines not to put it in correctly, but in a lot of the old machines you can put the needle in wrong. So make sure your needle is in right, the correct way, all the way up, and that your machine is threaded properly in all the threading guides with the foot up. Make sure you do that. And when you oil your machine, make sure that you oil your machine in the spots that the machine manufacturer says to oil your machine. And do not over oil your machine. That is one of the things that people can do and that can cause a mess. Is you want to use machine oil. Do not use an oil that has paraffin in it. Use the oil that is recommended for your brand of machine. Don't go buying brand X oil. Buy the one that goes with your machine, that is recommended for your machine. Oil, the oils come in different weights and different kinds, and there are some out there that you do not want to use that have paraffin in them, and that will gunk up your machine royally. So, yeah, what else was I going to say? And 1 drop of oil as opposed to a squirt of oil, 1 drop of oil in the places that it says in your book or the way that your dealer has told you. But oiling is important. Yeah, Denise is correct. That's my opinion about that. Other people may have a different opinion. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, because we have the one that is stitched in the spiral pattern, okay, so round and round and round. This one, we're just going to go back and forth, okay, back and forth, or up and down. We'll call it up and down. And I'm just going to go up and down. Every time I think up and down, I hear the line in the movie. Juliette Lewis was in it, and she was mentally handicapped, and I can't remember the name of the movie now. Somebody in the chat will tell us. And she had a boyfriend who was also mentally handicapped, and they fell in love. They eventually got married, and he wanted to be a drum major. And every time he would brush his teeth, he would say up and down and not across. Somebody will know what movie it is. I forgot what it is. I thought I'd remember it forever. Anyway, okay. So up and down and not across, people. That's what we're doing here. Up and down, not across. But you could go across if you wanted. But I would do them all going one way and then all the other way if you wanted to actually make a grid. But in this case, we're just going to go up and down. My sister's wedding, that's exactly what it was. Yes, I knew you guys would know. Who knew that? Catherine did. Yes, my sister's wedding. Up and down and not across. You guys will hear that in your sleep. Yeah, and you're welcome. It's my pleasure to give you an earworm for tonight. When you can't sleep, you can think that up and down and not across. You're welcome. Oh, I got off a little bit, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. I honestly prefer doing free motion where I don't have to think. Especially after wasp issues all weekend and all day today. Or not all day, but most of today. You know, sometimes you just don't want to have to think. Now, if I normally am stitching straight lines, I can go pretty fast. I'm not going to do that on this because I don't want these ends of these little patches flipping up on me. So that's why I'm kind of taking my time. And my lines are getting progressively curvier. Less straight, more curves. Kind of like me. I do like black stitching or some other contrast of color when you're doing this stuff, because if you're going to go to the trouble of stitching like this, you might as well have it be something you can see. My straight lines are anything but straight, folks. Anything but straight. Did I ever tell you? I don't know. I'm thinking about the days where we repaired a lot of sewing machines. Did I ever tell you about the one that the young woman, she was a young mother, brought me? It was when we were doing this out of our house. Brought us a sewing machine, and she had a toddler with her, and so she needed help getting her sewing machine out of her car. So I went to help her, and it was laying down on its back in the back of the car. It had fallen over when she turned the corner. And when I picked it up, it was very, very sticky. Okay? So I will continue telling you as I stitch. And it was covered in orange something. And I didn't really realize, I thought it was just on the outside of the case. Clausman got into it, and he said, "What in the world is inside this machine?" And apparently one of her small children had spilled or deposited somehow orange Kool-Aid or an orange popsicle or something like that in the machine. And wonder of wonders, it didn't work. Of course, going around the corner and dumping it over on its back might have had an effect on it as well. Yeah, that was one of the better ones. Then another time we had, the machine wouldn't work. The customer was very frustrated because her machine would not work. But inside the machine, we found several toys, little toys. that a curious little boy had found a little slot in the top of the machine, and he had dropped his toys right in that because they fit. Yep. She was not happy with us, and it wasn't even our fault. You know, she was pretty sure that we had sold her a dud machine. Really wasn't our fault. Oh goodness, if I could stitch in a straight line, it would be so nice. It's a good thing I'm going to cut this up, because if not, it would not win any prizes. It certainly would not. No stitching awards for me. We're almost done. If you have any other questions, pop them in the chat. I will look at your questions here in a second to see if there's any final thoughts or questions. But everything seemed to work okay for you guys tonight with the stream. I hope. Seemed like it has. And I will be here Friday. I had said I wouldn't be, or I didn't think I would be, but I will. Okay. Okay, good enough. Another thing that you can use to clean the needle of your machine is an alcohol wipe, you know, like they use for, that's one of my favorite things to keep near the sewing machine, is the alcohol wipes, like you do for finger sticks, you know, for blood testing and diabetes blood testing and that kind of stuff. The little alcohol wipes are really good for that also. But once you open the package, they won't, you can put them back in the foil package and they're going to dry out. So once you open the foil pack, they're done. But they are convenient, and it beats in some ways. Hold on a second. It beats having liquid around your sewing machine, you know. So, okay, let's look at what we did. So here's this one. Here's this one. Whoop. Okay, you get a totally different look if you stitch in rounds than you do if you do in straight lines. From the back, that's what they look like. Now you can really see how not straight I did it. But you don't have to do your stitching. You don't have to do the stitching free motion style, which is what I normally do. So you don't have to do that. You can do it using the presser foot with the feed dogs up. Okay? All right. With that, we're going to call it a night, and from a distance, this is how the one looks. And this is how the other one looks. And we're going to make a critter out of these. Don't ask me what we'll do with the critter, because I don't know. I may just give it away. In fact, that's probably a good thing to do. If you guys like it, I'll give them away. They'll be something you could hang up in your room. Yeah, I don't know what else you can do with it. But we'll do that. How about that? I'll make a cat and I'll make a dog. And on Friday, all I have to do is remember that. And then we'll have a drawing, and you guys, whoever wins, can keep it or give it away or whatever you want to do. How about that? The other sister. Oh, that is right. That is right. It was the other sister. Catherine. Catherine got it. But you see, I'm easy. I went, yeah, my sister's wedding. That's it. Hi, Marty. Okay. We're going to go. We're going to go for now. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to my waspy nonsense. And I will be here Friday at 2 Eastern. I will see you then. VIP people, I will see you on Saturday this week, barring anything going upside down, which it shouldn't. And so I'll see you then. Okay? All right. Thanks for coming up with that, Catherine. And that way it didn't bother me crazy. Just remember, up and down and not across. I'll see you guys later. Have a good evening, good day, good whatever. Whenever you're watching this, do something nice for somebody else. You'll be glad you did. Bye for now.